Awesome. Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. We are into day 4 of our July Wellness Week. So, all this week, we've been live at 1 o'clock, and we've been chatting about a variety of things. We've touched on diet. On Monday, we had a fun, stress management discussion on kind of mindfulness and meditation, and chatted about healthy acids yesterday. And tomorrow, Dan's going to chat about cardio versus strength training. So that'll be a really fun call as well. And of course, today I've got my lovely friend Melissa. She's our enrollment assistant, and yeah, we just love to get her thoughts and have her, join us here. So thanks again, Melissa, for being with me today.
Thanks for
Exciting.
having me.
Of course. And yeah, so today, really we're chatting all about improving sleep quality, and along with sleep quality comes a routine. So there's a lot of things that go into or could potentially go into, your sleep routine. And but first, before we kind of get into, some of the practical pieces, I want to chat just a little bit about circadian rhythm. And circadian rhythm, it's also, referred to as circadian cycle, but basically, it's the natural internal process that regulates the sleep wake cycle, generally repeats every 24 hours, which makes sense. And yeah, the system uses light, dark, uses kind of our biological clock to help regulate things like body temperature, things like metabolism, even some hormones too, like melatonin that can be, related to sleep. And so circadian rhythm is really important, and especially when we chat about, consistency of routine, just to help our bodies better recognize that routine. Of course, the more consistent that we can be, it'll just, again, be easier for our bodies to differentiate between the sleep or our rest versus wake time. And yeah, with, again, circadian rhythm and a lot of the tips that we'll chat about, we'll just, yeah, kind of discuss again maybe some potential things to include into an evening routine to help out with that to help out with that consistency. But also, here at the beginning, I want to chat a little bit about what might be causing trouble sleeping too in certain cases. And so to kind of dive into that, I think especially relative to the circadian rhythm, one of the things to consider is light exposure. So there's a couple different like areas of light that we consider. Of course, during the day, getting into the sunlight, trying to get that vitamin D, and just helping our bodies recognize, that it's daytime, and ideally we're awake during that time. And it also goes along into the evening too, as we can consider, blue light exposure, but also considering other, artificial lights in our home. Yeah, because again, especially with blue light exposure that can come from our computers or our phones or our TVs. It can, yeah, kind of disrupt that circadian rhythm and kind of confuse our bodies a little bit as to, again, kind of what time of day it is. And I'm curious, Melissa, I know that, you've, yeah, gone through the program, and I know, yeah, you went through our sleep workshop with Dan, and I'm curious, yeah, when it comes to kind of your sleep routine, what might have been one thing that you adjusted, or, yeah, like what helped you to improve your personal sleep routine or quality of sleep?
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. You know what I think is interesting is that the last module, the last out of the 5 pillars that we go over is sleep, right?
Mhm.
And I was always kind of like, well, I wonder why that is. Sleep is so important. But what I learned from that through going through the steps that way or the pillars that way was that my sleep was already so much better going through the other modules first, right? Because water, food, stress management,
Mhm.
those things are gonna, like, once you work through those and get on a good schedule, those they're going to. So by the time we got to the sleep pattern, I just told you before this, like, I kind of forgot that circadian rhythm was the thing, and I did still learn some things, but I actually was already on a path where my sleeping was pretty good. And so I think you guys are genius in that. But yeah,
Oh,
I
thanks.
like getting up. Yeah, I like getting up at 4 in the morning. Like that was one of the big
Mhm.
changes I made. I was staying up really late and just kind of not putting my sleep priority. But it's not that I put my sleep priority. I put myself a priority, meaning that if I want to get up at 4, I'm going to have to go to bed at a decent time. And why do I want to get up at 4? Because I need some time to myself. We got, 3 to 6 kids here all the time. And in order to be the best person I want to be, I have to have some time for myself. And so it's so interesting how the last thing that we talked about was sleep, but by the time we were at the sleep module, I was like, oh, I think I have this down pretty well. So I like that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it is really interesting how, yeah, I know we talk about these pillars kind of separately, but they all are interconnected. And like you said, especially with sleep and, within that workshop, that's definitely one, the one pillar that pretty much any of the other pillars can kind of affect our sleep. Like you said, with diet, something to consider there. And, maybe one kind of tip, I guess, or thing that yeah, might be kind of causing a disruption of sleep could be like eating too close to bedtime. Really that's one of the tips and things that we chat about. And it makes sense because you can think, our bodies really enjoy having a clear rest and digest schedule. And, if we're eating too close to bed, yeah, again, that can just kind of confuse our bodies a little bit. And the same kind of goes with exercise too, like you said. Um, if we're exercising too close to bed, and really what we mean by that too is, more that of the kind of intense exercise, like the more higher intensity, it's definitely and could be even, beneficial to do things like stretching or, some different flexibility, mobility work, into the evenings, that kind of more relaxing movements. But again, yeah, I totally agree that as we kind of work on some of these other pillars, it just naturally kind of affects and generally has a positive impact on the sleep routine. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm excited to hear more about that. And I'm curious, kind of thinking prior to, yeah, like making those changes and kind of adjusting even like the time that you go to sleep and wake up. Like what do you think made a big difference for you? Was there yeah, any specific change or like one step that kind of helped you to, be consistent with that routine? Let me know if that question didn't quite make
Well,
sense.
yeah. One good thing about, like, I guess being a parent is that you're already setting
Mhm.
routines for your kids, right? Like
Yeah.
8:30 or 9 o'clock is bedtime, depending on whether it's summer. And then you think about when you're a new parent and you learn about babies sleeping, and like, gosh,
Mhm.
it's like by the book, they need this many hours for this age. Well, it kind of stops at a certain point because 40-year-olds aren't told you should, I mean, typically I'm assuming adults should have like 6 to 8 hours, but it's not something that we really think of. We're just kind of like,
Mhm.
what do we need to get done? And then we'll think about sleep later.
Yeah.
But I guess again, just prioritizing myself and my day, and just, it's more about how do I want to feel the next day.
Mhm.
And where's my energy going? Because everything is energy, and you got to, like you said, restore that energy, and that's
Yeah.
what sleeping is. And just another thing that I learned through going through this, the epic experience,
Mhm.
really is two things I implemented. Sometimes I have to get up to go to the restroom at night, but I do not look at my phone, and I
Yeah.
don't go down to the kitchen for a snack. And those are
Yeah.
just two things, like not looking at your phone, that, I mean, it does disrupt the circadian rhythm, and it's just not something that's harder to go back to sleep. That's what I found. And so
Yeah.
just making those two changes were pretty big. And you say not eating too close to going to bed, but a lot of people get up in the middle of the night and wait the fridge, or go downstairs and get something to eat or drink,
Mhm.
and that's something I was doing quite often. So just those two changes made like a big difference.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And that's definitely kind of one of our more practical tips too. Like you said, if you well, a couple points. So with the hydration, I know too, one thing that you have done is working on yeah, kind of incorporating like the morning hydration and trying to
Mhm.
prioritize more like earlier in the day. So, hopefully we're not waking up too many times, in the middle of the night to go to the
Mhm.
bathroom. But if you are waking up in the middle of the night, like you said, trying to trying to avoid like basically kind of stimulating the brain. So avoid turning the lights on, avoid looking at your phone. But like you said too, yeah, kind of avoiding those snacks. And maybe instead, a lot of things that we kind of chat about would be Dr. Bradley has this doubling game that he'll kind of play with himself. And basically you start with one and you double to two, to four, to eight. And it's sort of like a white noise for your brain, if you will. So it gives yourself something to focus on that's not too kind of intense or too, thought provoking. And another thing too that we kind of chatted about on Monday a little bit were things like body scan meditations. Those can be really helpful to sort of distract your brain, but also you're bringing more awareness into yourself and focusing on your breathing and how you're feeling, and you can notice areas of tension. And for me, that's one of the most helpful tools when I am having trouble falling asleep, whether it's the first time I'm trying to go to sleep, or if I wake up and I'm trying to go back to sleep. I've found that, incorporating breathing with those body scans, I, I'll probably get through three-quarters of my body and I'm out before I finish it, which no, it's not the case for everyone, but yeah, even some of those like guided meditations I've found in those times to be really helpful, which again, it's a little tough there because my guided meditations on my phone, so you kind of have to be careful of that there too. But no, that's a really great point too. And let me see here. I'm curious too. Ooh, word, sorry. My screen just like jumped, like kind of scrolled on its own, threw me off a little bit. And kind of some simple things that I think we, maybe we'll consider, but yeah, maybe we don't always think about are things like, how do you feel about your current mattress and pillows? I know, yeah, that's kind of something that, we're using it every night. And if, especially, I think with the pillows, especially for, like side sleepers too, that's something that's been really relevant just in the sleep workshops that I've done the past few weeks. Yeah, if you're not comfortable with your mattress or pillow, that definitely potentially could be affecting kind of your overall quality of sleep. And we've got a document called the Optimum Sleep Plan Guide, and a couple of the points that are really helpful on there. One, just after looking at some research, there's been research to show that generally, again, darker rooms are more optimum for better sleep, but also colder rooms. And I always laugh at the point on that sheet because Dr. Bradley's optimum room temperature is 63 degrees, which is a bit cold for me, but on average, research has shown about 67 is kind of for whatever reason, that magic number in there. But yeah, it's interesting. And then by far my favorite point on that sheet is that yeah, there's research to show that the individuals that have better quality of sleep generally wear little to nothing to bed. So on the sheet, I know it says strip up and or strip down and sock up or something like that. So I just love that. And yeah, it's just kind of fun to consider. I'm curious, what's kind of your optimum, you know, yeah, do you like your room cold, or do you have kind of a preference that way?
Well, if I had my choice, because obviously I share the bedroom with
Yeah,
Troy, but
fair.
I would sleep with the windows open every night. I like to have, just because it's cooler at night, but I like to have that. We did, try out a couple of mattresses, and the one that we end up was like the where you get it in a box and you gotta take it out and
Oh yeah, yeah.
expands. So
Hmm.
that's really nice. And then the My Pillows is what we use. And then
Yeah.
but the kids, they actually requested that they have like the dark paneling, in their room over the windows and stuff, because
Yeah.
we have it. And it's just, they don't want to be, obviously they don't want to be woken up, by the sun in the morning. And that's what was happening, even if there's like a little crack or whatever. And
Yeah.
so they're very aware of that, as well. So we put that in their bedrooms. We're working on getting them some newer mattresses, because now that they've laid on ours, they're kind of
Yep.
like, well, that's not fair. We want one that comes in a box too. So,
Yours is so
so yeah,
comfy. I love
yeah,
it.
I
Yeah.
do have like my desk in my bedroom and stuff. So I
Hmm.
just make sure that all the like the computer and all that stuff is off,
Yeah.
because it in the middle of the night it has kind of come on, and it's kind of like, I didn't
Yeah.
turn on the phone. I'm trying not to do that. And then there's that, blue light in here. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, trying it out. I know like when Troy's like, sometimes he gets like the tennis elbows, it kind of be like this. And so, putting like a pillow right here to kind of like not have you, some people tense up a lot when they sleep, so
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, just testing out like what works for you, what do you feel like the next morning. And I know, like, I think Dr. Bradley or some of you guys use the Aura Ring or different ways to like track your
Yeah.
sleep,
Right.
which I mean, I think I've done that in the past, and it's neat to see like how much time you're getting in REM sleep, because you may feel like, yeah, I slept last night, but I guess sometimes it's nice to know how well did you really sleep, because you have those mornings when you wake up and you're like, I don't feel like I slept at all, but I don't remember getting up at all.
Yeah.
And so I guess for a while, maybe or at some point in your life, it's nice to just kind of get some kind of numbers of like,
Hmm.
how am I doing? And then
Yeah.
actually some of those I think give you feedback of what you can do better
Hmm.
to improve your sleep. So those are,
Yeah.
if you don't know where you're at with your sleep, I would suggest even like probably there's probably free apps to do that as
Hmm.
well, right? But like
Yeah.
that's a good way to start and then kind of know, okay, well, I'm getting good sleep or I could improve in this area or that area.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned that because you're right. Yeah, with the Aura Ring, and I know that yeah, there are a bunch of different apps, and even with like Fitbits and things, they can track like the quality of sleep, and it is interesting to kind of analyze that data and see again, even to like the how often did you go into REM sleep, but also it considers kind of I guess the depth of your sleep. It's kind of funny to say it that way, but yeah, you do get kind of like a score generally. So which I'd be interested to do some more research and see like how like my sleep quality was 85%. Like what exactly does that mean? But regardless, you're right. It does still give you some more info. And even then you can also see, maybe there was a time in the middle of the night where yeah, you could see that the quality or you weren't sleeping as deeply, and then we can yeah kind of again just learn more from that and know more to take that next step forward too. So
Yeah. And then also just about energy, we are energetic beings and like
mhm,
the more you, and I'm not a huge schedule person, I'm obviously working on that, but the more you know what you're going to do throughout the day, and you kind of make habits and schedules and stuff like that, and then schedule your bedtime, you know, it's hard to be like rigid with myself, but I would like to be to bed before 10. I always am. For the most
yeah.
part, it's like 9 o'clock is where I shoot for. But just kind of setting that for yourself. And then also, one thing I've been working on just the last week is not looking at devices just only a half hour before I go to bed.
Yeah.
I can't really tell if it's made much of a difference. I mean, as far as like calming down and getting ready to fall asleep, it has, but
So
impacting how it impacts my sleep, I'm not really sure.
mhm,
But just knowing that you have a certain amount of energy and that you have to restore that, I mean,
yeah.
it's just so imperative. And I can guarantee you, if anybody just tries for a week or 2 weeks of just really hard focusing on sleep and getting 8 hours, 6 hours of good sleep. It's,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I used to sometimes not sleep at night, just on purpose. I'd be in the middle
Mhm,
of, streaming a TV series or something.
right.
And wow, I mean, what a difference just the first week of getting to bed and getting enough sleep every night.
Right.
Some people don't know what it actually feels. I didn't know that it could feel that good. I never actually tried to say I'm going to do this till this time. And so, yeah, I mean, you don't know till you do
Powerful.
it, really. So
Right.
that's now I would never go back, and make a conscious
Mhm,
effort. But I still want to have fun, and I still,
right.
want to stay up a little bit late. And I honestly like don't really stay up that late on the weekends either, which, Dr. Bradley mentioned that he goes to bed same time every night, gets up same time every day. That's,
Mhm,
I always thought, gosh, I could never do that, but I'm pretty much there. Again, there are other circumstances where you can't, but
yeah.
I never really, my body's kind of fixed at this point. Same with the food and the water, right?
Mhm,
Like kind
yeah.
of just get used to certain things. And you're just like,
Right.
well, your body, your mind, the energy that you expended during the day, your body's just like, well, that's your energy bump. And now it's
Mhm,
time to go to bed. I mean, you've hit that limit.
right.
So anything after like 9 o'clock, I know I'm not going to be productive. It's not going to be coming from like a good headspace, or it's not going to have my full energy. And so those are just some things to consider, because you can tell
Mhm,
yourself all you want, like, oh, I should get more sleep. But again, it's the big why. Like, why should
mhm,
you get more sleep? And if you know
right.
why sleep is important and where it fits into your life, your day,
Mhm,
food processing in your body, digesting,
right.
resting, your mental state, all that stuff is impacted. I mean, then you're
Yeah.
gonna make an effort. So yeah.
It is pretty incredible just how much is affected by, our sleep and the quality of our sleep. And it's interesting to, like you said, to consider, consistent sleep and wake times. And when considering the consistent wake time, that can be really helpful just to it's when we're waking up, it's again signaling our adrenals to wake up. And if we're waking up at kind of like willy-nilly times throughout the day, then it's hard for our adrenals to yeah, kind of know when it's time to activate. And when you are consistent with that, your adrenals are, you know, yeah, they kind of go with the routine. And yeah, it's just it's really interesting to me again. And also, with sleep deprivation could come a decrease of focus, and of course energy is hit by that. And when your energy is hit by
Mhm.
that, you might not be motivated to eat as well, or you might not be, motivated to get moving. And really, like, the the improvement of the sleep routine and quality really can affect pretty much every other area or pillar that we chat about. And I totally had another question. Um,
Well, I have a question for you,
yeah,
Natalie. Just
good.
being a coach, so what is like the kind of improvement you see with people's sleep? Because I mean, just doing discovery calls and just being a human myself who went through this, I know that like some people are insomnia, like they don't sleep at all. Some people, like for me, I feel like maybe I was just so like maybe 20 years ago or something. I was just so depressed and down. I
Yeah,
slept a lot, like a ton,
right.
and then I went through a phase where I didn't sleep a lot. And I know a lot of people just have dysregulated sleep things. So what kind of improvements do you see throughout? And then at the end, when people are like done with the program and kind of move on, like how is their sleep when they kind of are finished
Yeah.
with this?
That's a great question. It's very similar to your experience in the way that, sleep is a very, very relevant, thing in everyone's life. But, with it being the last workshop there, I definitely notice, for most people, even prior to that sleep workshop, like they've already improved on, just consistency. And because they're, feeding their or nourishing their bodies with, proper hydration and the right foods, like
Mhm.
they do have more energy, and they're, just feeling better, which also gives you more motivation to, continue to optimize the things that you're already doing. So I think one thing, and we kind of mentioned this a lot, but Dan often says, standardize before you optimize. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on. And prior to the sleep workshop, we're working on standardizing a lot of these, healthy habits. And then once
Mhm.
we get to the sleep workshop, we're able to really like dive deeper into, of course, considering things within the environment, considering things you're doing right before bed, but we dig deep into the morning and evening routines and consider, are there any tweaks within those, or even within, again, my sleep environment? Are there tweaks that I can make that, again, could potentially make a difference? And yeah, I don't know if that like fully answers your question, but I think it has been pretty, it is incredible that, yeah, for the most part, like people do already improve on their sleep routine even prior
Yeah,
to
you know,
like that
and
workshop.
yeah, that's what's so interesting. And what also is interesting is one thing I've learned through this whole process is everything is connected, right? So
Yeah.
say like we have like the thyroid and we're always getting headaches and then we're brain fog and we're very tired.
Mhm.
It's all connected. And then once we start working through that, the cool part is I think is that all the symptoms are connected, our body is connected, but then when we start healing, the healing gets connected, right? Like because I'm putting the good food in my body, because I'm exercising, because
Right.
I'm committing to these certain like wake up, go to sleep. It's these tiny, and it's so cliche to say because I hear it everywhere, every day. It's these tiny little things that you do each day, and it's so true. And that's the I think for me that was the beauty of Epic is that I did just focus on certain things that I didn't realize that at the end of the day it was just doing little things each day.
And
But
that make a
that is
huge
yeah,
difference. Yeah, I
a
like to call them,
huge
what do we call them?
difference.
They're like they're big little things. Like they may not seem like a lot. And this is I love talking about James Clear's book. James Clear, Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books ever. He talks about getting 1% better every day. And at first when you hear that, you're like, 1% better. But those are those big little steps. Like that's still
Yeah.
progress, and that's still getting you closer to that optimum goal, or whatever you're working towards. And yeah, 1% every day, it may not seem
Mhm.
like a lot at first, but that really really adds up. And then, I think the cool thing too with Epic is, or yeah, even just in general, as people get more mindful and reflect, that we're able to, I mean, we have the control to change our situation. So if some routine or something that we're doing, if the structure isn't ideal, we can always tweak things. We can
Mhm.
reevaluate and adjust and try something else. And I think that's the cool thing about, having, of course, me as a health coach. That's the cool thing about having a health coach, is having someone to chat about that with, though, and think through, what part of my routine is going well, and acknowledge those, celebrate those wins, celebrate the progress and growth there. But then also consider again, like, are there any tweaks that could potentially make a difference? Would some of the things that we've chatted about, like again, considering how close to bedtime are you eating, or are you doing intense exercise, or maybe caffeine along with that too. But also, kind of like you mentioned too, there's other factors at play as well. So, some people, like you said, yeah, if there is, depression or anxiety, with depression, like you said, I've been there as well. Like, you sleep more during the day, and that can definitely affect, your ability to sleep at nighttime. Or with anxiety, if you notice your brain towards bedtime is just going, 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 there, yeah, if the first step, I guess, is that awareness. And then,
Mhm.
what can I do about it? And yeah, I think that's again where kind of the body scan meditations for me personally have been really,
Mhm.
really helpful, because it helps me to quiet my brain a little bit. And it is totally natural as you're going through meditations. It's natural for your brain to wander, or for other thoughts to come in, but it takes practice. And it's empowering to know, like, I know my brain's wandering, but I can acknowledge that, recognize that, and return back to my breathing. And
Mhm.
that skill, I've it's interesting, like, for even just reflecting just in this moment, like, it's easier for me now to, yeah, kind of return to that state of calm, or refocus on my breathing, as opposed to just kind of reeling, with my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like we hear all the time. And for me, the decision fatigue is like hits hard with meditation and all this stuff. It's like, where do you start? But I
right.
think your body scan, and then also the other day, I got all hyped up about something, and I came in here and I sat down and I just like, fine, I'll try it. It's the 5 4 3 2 1, where you like five things you can see, four
Hmm.
things you can smell, three things you can touch, two things you can the other,
Hmm.
right?
Two
Two
things you can
things.
smell, one thing you can taste. Something
Yes,
like that.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And I did that, and because I was like in this other mind state, mental mind state, it actually seemed like it was kind of difficult to stay in this thought. And you can kind of see your thoughts be like, well, I'm trying to do this. Well, I'm angry. I was angry about this. Well, no, you're not angry anymore. And so it really is a shift in how hard it was for me to think of the 5 4 3 2 1 things,
Hmm.
because I kept wanting, my mind kept wanting to go back to the,
Yeah.
but yeah, meditation, I think those are two great places. And I really kind of resisted it for a long time, because I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it right. And, it's scary, and my mind's definitely going to wander. But just those, like you said, the body scan, you're already laying down, and all that is just kind of like, right, like acknowledge
Hmm.
all of these different body parts and kind of calm them
Exactly.
down. And then the 5 4 3 2 1 is, I mean, I think I did it when I was like angry, but you can do it just anytime you're having like a really intense emotion.
Yeah.
After you kind of like moved through it and you want to
Hmm.
come out of it, just kind of do that. And those are,
Right.
I just let people know those are two ones to start with, because a whole hour long or half long meditation, just unless you're doing it like as
Yeah.
you're sleeping, and that's always cool too. The hypnotizing things that you the and the also the like the sounds,
Yep.
isn't sound therapy or
Hmm.
sound
Yeah,
bath
there's
type things.
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
the
about. Yeah.
frequencies. Yeah, frequency. You can listen to
Yeah.
certain frequencies, and that works with like different chakras in your body. But yeah, I mean that it's definitely a change. So
Yeah. And yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting too with like the frequencies. There was someone I chatted with last week about that, and it's fascinating to me. But it's a kind of sort of like specific white noise sort of. So there, yeah, are like different frequencies, but even just like white noise too. And again, that's just another way to give your brain something to focus on that's
Mhm.
not something that's too much to focus on, if that makes sense. And I love the idea of with the 5 4 3 2 1, and also with the body scans. I think what's so helpful about those is it takes your there's a couple points. So like it takes some of your, yeah, attention away from your thoughts and brings it into the body. And I think like just the act of like sensations, like physical sensations, and connecting with, I can feel the bed that I'm laying on. Like, you can feel it in your legs, and you can feel it on your hands. And really, it's, yeah, kind of that mind body connection, but really, like, yeah, turning into, yourself. And again, like the awareness of your environment with, 5 things that you see, and things like that. I just think those are just really fascinating to me. So I'm glad you mentioned that, and maybe we'll have to add that one into our resources for today. So yeah, people can look into that too. And also on Monday we chatted about yeah, just again some different like mindfulness or meditation practices, and a lot of those are still very much relevant to here. Like we talked about the 4-7-8 breathing, which yeah, I have incorporated that before bed too, and it helps me relax.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's definitely something to consider. And let me see here. I think we've got a comment. Catherine's watching on Facebook. Hi, Catherine. I think there's someone else too. Yeah, thanks for joining. And if you guys have any, again, like, questions, or even just sharing, some of the things that you do that have improved your sleep routine, or, maybe ideas of things that you've heard here that you want to incorporate to improve your sleep routine, we'd love to, yeah, hear your comments down below too. Um, but let me just review a little bit, because we've, yeah, kind of been all over the place. So we started out chatting about the circadian rhythm, and again, it's yeah, kind of our natural internal cycle of sleep and wake, and the more consistent we can be with our sleep time and our wake time, it again just helps our bodies and our internal organs, better recognize, when to be active, and some of the things that potentially could cause trouble sleeping. Again, things like, considering your blue light exposure to, close to bed or even throughout the day, considering food, snacking later in the evening, too intense exercise later in the evening. Again, considering things like temperature and just simple preference, with your mattress and your pillow, and also, kind of posture within your sleep position. I don't know if that's the right word, but like you said, with, maybe supporting your
Mhm.
arm with an extra pillow, or I like to put a pillow between my knees and my ankle, just so that, there's proper alignment there, and that, just helps me feel more comfortable. And everyone's got, a little bit of a preference. And one other thing too that I know not everyone has to worry about, are things like pets or even kids. I love that I tied those two together. I'm so sorry. But yeah, if your pet is yeah, potentially, disrupting your routine, that's, something to consider. And I know I briefly mentioned kind of caffeine along with that, and along with that too goes, alcohol. And interestingly enough, I did some research into that, because I was curious to know, like, how many drinks does it take to affect the quality of sleep? And I didn't dig too deep into it, but I had found that even after one alcoholic beverage, it could decrease the quality, by about, or at least 25%. And then with each additional drink, it just takes, it decreases the quality even more. So I found that to be just really interesting. And yeah, again, just something to consider, within that. And kind of like I mentioned too, when we were chatting about, maybe depression or anxiety,
Mhm.
um, and you were chatting about too, getting, maybe a little bit frustrated with those thoughts that are coming in and out. I think
Mhm.
it's good to practice grace with ourselves too, and trying to, limit the judgment that we put onto ourselves. And, in those moments of meditation or mindfulness, or even where we're just breathing and reconnecting with ourselves, again, it's totally normal and honestly expected for your mind to wander at some point. And again, yeah, it's natural. It happens to everyone. But also taking into account, what was that thought? Maybe I'll come back to that later. Why did that thought kind of come into mind? But also acknowledging it without judgment, and simply returning back to your breathing, or, whatever you're focusing into at that moment. Um,
Mhm.
and woo, that was a lot. Oh, and consistent sleep and wake time. I know I mentioned that a couple times, but again, our bodies just really appreciate that consistency. And you don't have to wake up at 4:30 every morning like sweet Melissa here does. You're a rock star. Maybe I'll get to that point someday, but yeah, start with something, and see how it helps. You never know. Like Melissa said, those little tweaks can make a really big difference in the long run. So try it out and see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think Dan said something, or maybe it was you, about like the first thing that you do in the morning is sets your tone for the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I already drink water first thing, but
Woo.
this morning, just to change after hearing you say that, I went for
Mhm.
my morning walk without listening to my podcast. So it
How
was
was
neat
it?
because I got to hear the birds chirp and like the bunnies come by me. And I noticed a lot more. And it was dark out and I took the dog with me. It was just nice because I mean, the longer you can wait to get connected to your phone in the morning, I suppose is the best. It's just hard to do that, right out the
Right.
gate.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah.
it's something that, I mean, a lot of us too use technology for our jobs. So it's just something that we're
Mhm.
just naturally used to doing that all the time. And it's something that we do have to, just first of all be aware and mindful of our screen time. But just to clarify too, Melissa and I, when we were chatting yesterday, we had chatted about, or I'd seen a video that was talking about basically the very first thing that you do in the morning kind of sets a tone for the rest of your day. And the way that they had described it was, if the first thing you do, like the very first thing before you even get out of bed, if the first thing you do is, get on your phone and start scrolling through Facebook, you're likely going to crave that for, kind of throughout the day. But if you're, like you said, prioritizing that mindfulness or even just simple presence in this moment, this very moment, yeah, it seems like even today, that's kind of carried through, your day, continuing with that positive mindset and start to your day. So, woo, I'm excited to hear how that goes as you continue with that. That's exciting.
Yes.
Woo, awesome. Let me just check one more time for comments. Let's see. Oh, Dr. B, he said, he loves seeing the replay. You guys are true rock stars and healers. Same to you, Dr. B. We wouldn't be here without you. Um, but yes, and so really, that, yeah, kind of covers it today. And just a couple, more announcements that I want to remind you guys about. Dr. Bradley, a week from today, goodness gracious, he's going to be doing a live interactive webinar called Healing Hashimoto's. So, yeah, you'll get a free, interactive PDF with that. You'll be able to, yeah, join. The seats are limited though, and I know I've mentioned this a lot of times this week, so hopefully you aren't getting tired of me hearing it. But you do have to register. I just want to make sure if you want to join that you save your spot, because when you register, it'll automatically send you the Zoom link. But if you don't officially register, your seat will not be saved. So please do register, and I'll be posting that again later today too. But to wrap up today, and also just a reminder, every day this week we've done a question and a challenge of the day. And really all that yeah, all you have to do is I'll, post it right after this call and just comment under that with your, answer to that question. And we will, yeah, send you the guide for today. And I've posted questions all day. You can search hashtag July Wellness Week to find those other questions. And again, for each question you answer, we'll send you that guide for that specific day. So yeah, check out those questions and let me know. And for today, our challenge is try incorporating a simple breathing and or meditation before bed at least one night this week. And let us know how it goes and how it feels for you. So super simple, whether it's, we mentioned a couple of them here, but some of the breathing exercises, again, we chatted more in detail about them on Monday. But there's deep belly breathing, there's box breathing, 4-7-8, even just simple, just conscious deep breathing, that it doesn't have to be a super, technique. It could literally just be just increasing your mindfulness of your current breathing and see how that goes. And then the question of the day is, what is one area of opportunity within your sleep environment or routine? And what could be a next step to improving your sleep quality and routine? So, again, I'll be posting that right after this call. And yeah, just thanks. I know we've got still a couple people watching. So, thanks for joining us live here. And Melissa, love you as always. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I guess, do
Love
we
you too,
have,
Nat.
yeah, any final parting, words or yeah, words of encouragement or advice?
Well, it just, honestly, nothing needs to be perfect. And I know, like a lot of us, me, I didn't really consider myself a perfectionist, but I think the reason I don't do a lot of things is because I know I can't do it perfect. That's one thing I just learned about myself. And so
Mhm.
just give it a try. I don't know how everybody feels about all this, but you don't have to do
Yep.
everything today or
Right.
everything tomorrow or even everything this week. If you just put like a little bit more water, maybe a new vegetable, and try this meditation, right? Just
Right.
throughout the week. Like we're gonna live forever, right? Because we're healthy. So just a couple things throughout the week, and
Right.
eventually they'll become habits. And it's
Hmm.
everything seems so daunting sometimes at the beginning, right? Because we're
Right.
eating like, oh, and then it's
There's a
like we're
lot.
gonna do this big change.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just a living proof, living proof that like small things each day. So anybody can just take one small thing from this and just implement it and then feel within your body how it feels. And then just kind of think about it next day. Just something I want to add. It can get really, you can get really overwhelmed and just not do it. And
Right.
I understand that completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one small thing here and there. And then if you like it, keep it. And like you
Yeah.
said, James Clear, habit stack it, where you already brush your teeth in the morning and then you're going to think about doing a body scan at the same
Yeah.
time, right? Things like that. So yeah, it
Right.
just try not to overcomplicate it.
Hmm.
We live in a pretty complicated world, so overcomplicating breathing, I've done it, but
Leave
yeah,
it
it's still
alone.
supposed to not be complicated. It's supposed to really help you,
Right.
just relax. So yeah.
And like you said, it doesn't, none of us are perfect. I hate to break it to you. None of us are ever going to be perfect. And we always say, the source of all disappointment is unmet expectations. So make sure you set realistic expectations. And as Dr.
Yeah.
Bradley always says, something over nothing. Something over nothing. It's better
True.
than, yeah, I think you're definitely not alone in that either, the kind of all or nothing mentality, but like you said, start with one small tweak. Like I said, maybe it's hydration, maybe it's 1 minute of a breathing exercise. Maybe it's, doing a the body scan, finding the body scan that I did on Monday and listening to even half of that or 2 minutes of that. Really, it doesn't have to be this huge crazy thing. It's up to you. So try something out and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And just one other thing too, like just for the people that have kids, if you are, doing these things for your kids, think about that
Right.
you need it for yourself too, right? I mean, why are you putting your kids so they're not crazy tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Or so they can focus in school, or so they can, because, well, the same thing goes because we're all humans, regardless of
Right.
what age we are, we all need sleep. So that's
Yeah.
one thing to remember. Just because you're the mom or the dad, we have way more responsibilities. That's
Hmm.
probably more reason that we need sleep. So yeah, if you're
Right.
gonna make a schedule for your kids, then just remember you're worth making a schedule for yourself too. So and putting
Indeed.
yourself as a priority, because yeah, maybe they'll wake up and be super awesome, happy kids and have a great day. But if you are not having a great day, they may not
Mhm.
end up having a good day either. So,
No, you're
yeah.
exactly right. And yeah, just another point too that inspired me off of what you said. We could learn a lot from, kids just in general, but specifically with sleep. I mean, think about, little kids, especially like toddlers. Like they have their like they have their routine before bed. I remember babysitting my niece a couple months ago, and my brother was giving me the rundown, of the pre-bedtime routine. And of course, it was put pajamas on. We've got to brush teeth, brush hair.
Mhm.
We read 3 books. Then she tucks her animals in. Then she gets into bed. We have to do a hug and a kiss. I've got to rock her for like 2 seconds, make sure she's
What?
tucked in. It's not that regimented now, but that's what she was used to. And it really helped her, like that consistency helped her to know that it's time for bed. And it also, helps her body recognize, like her body is used to that order of operations, and so it's better able to recognize like when it should start releasing those sleepy hormones. And it's the exact same way for us adults. So yeah, think about it. And
Love
again,
that.
we're always here, and I'd be super curious to again hear, whether you've made some changes or you're making some changes or thinking of making some changes. Keep us updated, let us know how it goes, because I guarantee you're not the only one, that's in a similar boat. So yeah, just reach out to us and post it. We'll we'll yeah, just support you in any way that we can. So thanks again to everyone for joining. Keep an eye out for that question of the day. I'll post it again just right after we're done here. And thanks one more time, Melissa, for being here with me
Yeah.
today.
Thank you, Natalie.
Of course. And check back in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Dan will be here chatting about strength training versus cardio. Ooh, gonna
That'll
dangle
be
that
fun.
carrot there. Awesome. Have a great day, guys. We'll chat soon. We'll chat soon. Ah.
Awesome.